You're tuned into RX Radio. Movement prescribed. Brought to you by Prescript.com. A personalized approach to keeping you healthy and making your best even better. Your hosts, Dr. Jordan Shallow and Dr. Jordan Jiunta.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to RX Radio. Today we have a really cool episode for you. I got to sit down with Jon North. If you guys know anything about weightlifting, or if you know anything about the history of weightlifting in America, you've heard the name Jon North before. This guy's an icon. He's definitely one of the most entertaining people that has ever touched a barbell. And he's got a really great life story. So I was really excited that I got to sit down with him and kind of talk about just his journey through weightlifting, through life. We touched on a lot of different topics here. So this is a really cool podcast. The one unfortunate thing is that we did have a little bit of technical difficulty recording this. So the sound quality is not the best, but thank you to Kyle Lundy, for making it listenable. It's not perfect, but I just hope that the quality doesn't take away from Jon's story, because he has a lot of great insight, and it really gives you a good look into who he is and where he's been. So don't let the audio quality take away from that. Before we get into it, just make sure that you guys are keeping an eye on Prescript. We have some cool stuff coming out very soon, the next couple of weeks. So make sure you keep your eyes on that. But let's get into this thing. Here we go.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for having me on the show, man. I'm pumped to be here.
I'm pumped to have you, man.
Yeah, I really am, man. And real quick, big congrats on the Arnold for you, man. You kicked butt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
It was cool to see you compete. You did great. And then we got a great session in at the Rogue Training Center afterwards. And you hit big numbers there, too, the very next day.
I know. I lifted better with you the next day than I did on the platform.
Training, local meets, national meets, 3 different sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always say that. Gosh, man, I'm drinking a what is this? Rockstar Blue Raz. So
nice.
I'm feeling good. I'm really glad to be on your show, Jordan. Gosh, I mean, about me, it was kind of like the USAW. I just got level 1 certified. A few months
Congratulations.
ago. Oh, hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
And when everyone's going around introducing themselves, and a lot of strength coaches there. But everyone's, I'm a master's this, PhD this, got my undergrad in this, and, just beautiful resumes explaining themselves. So then it got to me, and nobody knew who I was there, because, I don't know, it was just more of a kind of, everyone there was kind of more strength coach. So I just say, hey, my name's Jon. I'm a gym rat, and I love weightlifting.
Perfect.
That was my introduction, and everybody was kind of taken back, and they're like, who's this loser? You're one pathetic loser. So,
oh, no.
So that's pretty much me, man. I love weightlifting. I love the sport. I'm just a man that loves to lift weights, and that's pretty much it, man.
Man, I can sympathize with that. A man that loves to lift weights. I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo still on my end. So
are you?
Throw me out.
Oh.
It's okay though. It's recording just fine, I think. But that's incredible. When it comes to experience in weightlifting, though, you pretty much have a doctorate, a PhD, more education than anyone. You've been around the block a couple times with that.
Thanks,
can you take us back to the beginning and how it all started?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it short. I don't want to bore any listeners out there, so I'll just be real blunt.
Trust me, you're not boring us.
No,
this is why we're here.
Strength. I played junior college football for pretty much 4 years to get my associate's degree. Not too book smart, if you will. Kind of a troubled kid growing up. throughout middle school and high school. So when I graduated high school, my mom did the best thing ever to me. She said, okay, but son, you have two options: military or out of state junior college. So
Nice.
I like the out of state was in there, not in, because you always locally have your little community colleges.
Right.
No, you are leaving. And
It's time to go, John.
yeah, spread your wings, son. Out of state junior college. The thing was, I was really good at high school football. I was second team all league my senior year, and I was really good running back in high school. Honestly, I probably could have been first team all league if I would have dedicated more time to football. I was kind of a troubled kid, so shoulda, woulda, coulda though. But bad grades. So junior college it was. Went to college at the Siskiyous in Weed, California, because actually in Oregon, there's no junior college football.
Okay.
There's no football in junior college. So the closest one is right over the border into Weed, California, Siskiyou County. Beautiful. And you actually get in-state tuition because of the whole situation, because they want football players from Oregon to go to Weed. So got there, basically long story short, started for 1 year, got a little playing time, still grades were horrible, barely getting by with the grades. Had to take a ton of summer classes, even just to play the following year. I was that guy, and I was always in the summer classes. John, why are you in this painting class? Well, I got to try to get a B to play next year. Like, just constantly that guy, And, probably not like at that time a D1 guy. And, I kind of knew football was really not for me. I don't think I was next level in football. And, the grades were basically too bad to go anywhere else, to be honest. So basically when I graduated with my associate's degree, I did graduate from that school, which is great. And I did walk, by the way. My whole family was there, the whole ceremony for your associates, which is pretty cool.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, my mom's like, you're walking, we're all going. It's a huge deal. So basically what happened was, it was summertime and I was walking the streets of Weed, California on campus, just there. And my strength coach, Coach Tim Frisbee, pulls over and he just goes, and I love the weight room. I was always really, really, really good in the weight room. I was kind of the weight room guy. Yeah. You ever have one of those?
Yeah, I think I've been hit him at some point.
Yeah.
Try to at least.
You're just the guy that's like jacking everybody up and yelling. I was on Arnold and lifting. And I always had the highest numbers in the clean, and I was good at the snatch and all this kind of stuff. So I was like one of those guys that I like the weight room more than I like going out to the football field.
Yep.
So my strength coach pulls over, and he was the offensive line coach too, and he was kind of my mentor throughout the close to 4 years there. And he just goes, John, what are you still doing here? Like
kind of like your mom.
Yeah, exactly. The next chapter of that.
Time to leave.
Yes, like, what are you doing? And I remember looking at him, and he said it in such kind of like a mean way, but in like a caring way, like, go away, spread your wings. It's time to move on, And I just looked at him and I said, well, Coach, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And I said it kind of in a sad way. I was very lost. You're in college, it's what you know for so long. It's your home, it's your comfort. And I was just staying there even after I graduated. And I'd probably still be there if he didn't yell at me. So he said, look, let's figure out what you're going to do in your life. I was like, all right. So he took me to his office. He said, hey, did you know that snatch, clean, jerk that you love to do and that you're pretty good at is an Olympic sport? I had no idea. I really had no idea. He goes, I know the strength coach or the head weightlifting coach at Sac State. He goes, get in my car. I'm driving you down there. So he drove me to Sacramento State College.
Wow.
Literally introduced me to the weightlifting coach. And before I even could say goodbye, he was off. He literally dropped me off and then just left. And the dust hit my face. And I was like, okay, I'm homeless. I'm here. I guess I'm a weightlifter. And
Nice.
15 years later, I'm talking to you, Jordan. So
That's
how it
fantastic.
started. Yeah.
A very abrupt start into weightlifting. I do this because I don't have a home otherwise.
Yes, you just dropped it.
That's incredible. I think for the most part, the people that have seen you on the internet know you from the old strength YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So how did you transition from Sac State into that atmosphere at Cal Strength with, I mean, back in the day with Donny Shankle and Glenn Pendlay?
Right. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to meet Donny at a local meet, and I was always a big fan of Donny. And I went from Team Sac State, and then I eventually, over about a year and a half, went over to Team Hassle Free with Paul Doherty, and Coach Jack Hall, and Kevin Doherty, who was based out of San Francisco. And I was on Team Hassle Free for a few years, and that was fantastic. I ended up leaving that team over my own mistake of well, to be honest with you, I punched a guy, and I got kicked off. Yeah,
you can't just drop that and not tell the story.
So the thing is that I didn't get kicked off the team for it because even though, God, do I regret that? That's a tough one. I do regret that because it's a sin, and I wouldn't have done it again. I was actually defending my girlfriend, who is my wife now, because somebody called her the B word right in front of her face. So I punched him, and now so the thing is that I didn't get kicked off the weightlifting team because everyone kind of didn't like the guy, and what he did was way over the line, and a lot of people said I'd have done the same thing. So it was that kind of situation, but the situation is that, as if you know Hassle Free, it's at the high school, Sacramento High. So because of that word got out, I got kicked off campus. So then I wasn't allowed to go back to the team. So gosh, now you're starting this all. So here I am, me and my wife are lifting at Powerhouse Gym in the back with a bunch of strongman on a bar that doesn't spin, and at the time we're homeless. We're living in a Dodge Neon. We were in this really ghetto place in an apartment. We got kicked out because we couldn't pay rent, and we're doing anything we can to train. And I was a janitor at a Nutri-Shop. It's a supplement store. Yeah. Some guy at the Powerhouse, saw that I was a good weightlifter, and I was training for the American Open, and he kind of figured out my situation, how we were basically, broke and homeless, because we were at the time actually sleeping in my car. And he's like, "Hey man, I'll just pay you under the table, and you could just basically clean up the shop and vacuum and take the trash out, and I'll just give you some cash." I said, "Great." So I worked there for a few months training at the Powerhouse Gym. And at that point, my wife was getting a lot of heat from her family, and my family was kind of upset. What's your guys' plan? What are you doing in life? This bum that you're with, sweetie, is, there needs to be some sort of direction. So it got to the point where I was about to join the police academy. I actually even registered for the police academy. And then I was at a local meet competing and ran into Donny. And Donny, long story short, he invited me out to California Strength to train. I remember I walked up to him and I said, "Donny, how do you get so strong? I'm a big fan of this. How do you get so strong, Donny?" And he said, "God damn it, son, you got to get strong." That's what he said to me. It's just, you got to get strong. So I said, "Okay, yes, sir." We kind of hit it off. He saw me lift. He approached me after the competition and said, "Meet me at Cal Strength Wednesday at 2:00. And I just said, "Okay." Drove down there with my wife, pulled up in the old Dodge Neon and trained with Donny, and the rest is history. So, I walked in that gym, and the entire gym was filled with cigarette smoke. And, there's just Donny Shankle, Dave Spitz, Max Ada, and about 10 Bulgarians.
Oh my God.
Just lifting with their shirts off, just getting after it. And I was like, what is this place? This is so cool. This is a lot different than the Powerhouse. So yeah, that's pretty much how that happened.
Wow, that's a really good story, and it's gives a lot of insight that when you're coming from that scenario, that situation where you're literally living out of your car, it's training's easy after that, right? If life is hard, training is easy. That's incredible, though. So from that point, I've seen you lift a couple times. I saw you the first time I saw it in person was actually Nationals last year in Memphis, and literally every single person in that room had their eyes on you. You just have this way about drawing attention in, and you lift with such intensity. Where does that come from? What's going through your mind when you're lifting and when you're on the platform competing that brings that intensity?
Right. So it's basically a character I created, a monster I created, and it's really it's kind of an odd thing because it's 100% authentic.
I 100% believe that.
Yeah, and anybody that's seen me live, like you're saying, would attest to that. There's nothing fake about it, but it's still a creation. It's not really who I am, or maybe it's a limb of who I am, a branch of who I am. Because I'm really insecure, and the weights scare the hell out of me. They just scare the living daylight out of me. And walking on that stage is just always the scariest thing I do, even to this day, so long into it. So I felt like over time, like when I lift, I kind of turn into this character, this Shankle yelling, bar slamming, chair throwing, like crazy man.
Yeah.
And I've used this character that I didn't even really create, that kind of just created itself to lift the weights for me and to kind of block away the fear and the insecurity, so that when I walk on stage, it just takes over, and I just kind of go with it. And so that's pretty much what that is. It's not really me, but I guess it kind of is. There's something inside of me that comes out where I'm so scared of the weights that I have to create a mindset that pretty much turns me into almost a different person, to block that fear out. And I think because of that, kind of the whole Hulk thing happens, right? Just rip the shirt off and then just kind of go crazy. And it's hurt me a lot in life, because that can kind of happen off the platform too. So I always like to say that my life is kind of a double-edged sword. It's helped me a lot in life, but hurt me a lot in life as well. You're going to win a lot of meets and you're going to lift some big weight, but also, you're going to make a lot of bad decisions and, make a lot of mistakes at the same time with that type of, when that character comes out. So that would be kind of my answer to that. So,
Yeah, I'd imagine that same personality trait is the same reason why you're crushing big lifts on the platform, but at the same time punching this guy in the face and getting kicked off the team at the same,
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I'm no saint, and I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life, and that's one out of many, 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 many. It's I've learned a lot in the sport of weightlifting and throughout life. That's for sure. But I've tried to lift calm. I've tried to kind of tame that inner monster that comes out when I lift. And I bomb out at every meet, and I can't. I've even tried to tame that monster, but I just got to let it loose, man. Like the minute I grab that bar in the warm up room, it's just don't even talk to me, because I'm not Jon at that time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that to some degree. I don't think as many people are effective at channeling it as you are, though.
Got it. I think so too. Yeah. I mean, I know guys that are super focused, but they're not even they're not even there. Like, for instance, like Travis Cooper, Travis Cooper is a real focused, calm lifter, but like if you look into his eyes when he's warming up and competing, he's not even there. You know what I mean? You're looking into his eyes, you're like, hey, is that even Travis?
Turns into a different person.
Same with you. I remember seeing you compete, like when you're sitting in that warm-up room chair and you're doing your thing, it's like you're just such in a zone. As us lifters are such, we get such in a mental space, and everyone has their own mental space, and that's all that is. And that mental space is hard for lifters to find. It takes time to find out like who you are as a lifter, what gets you going, what do you got to tap into emotionally to get you to like walk out on that stage and lift that big weight. And that takes time and practice. It really does.
Absolutely. I know you said it's kind of a combination of your fear and some other things. I think really what it is where your fear meets your confidence, and you're in this state where you can do it, but you don't want to fail, and you put this expectation on yourself, and it just makes it that much more scary.
Right. Heck yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So to kind of play off that, I want to hear more about these Bulgarians. so you met Donny Shankle, and he told you had to get strong. Mm-hmm. Is that what kind of set you down this trajectory towards pursuing strength and greatness and weightlifting?
Yeah. I mean, I always knew that even from back in the college of the Siskiyou days, the junior, I always loved weight space lifting. I just didn't know weightlifting, one word, was an Olympic sport. So when I found out it was an Olympic sport, I was like, oh, this is something I'm actually good at in life. I want to do this. You know what I mean? Because I was a kid that grew up in the resource rooms in school, really troubled with kind of fitting in, and really troubled as far as like book smarts, and didn't know what I wanted to be in life at all. So like when I found something that I was passionate about and I was pretty okay at, I was like, oh man, how exciting is this? This is what I want to do. And so from basically college to now, we're still doing it. It was just the passion of mine. So California Strength was a way where I could train full time, become a pro weightlifter, and really chase my dreams. But California Strength was an interesting place because I have never seen weightlifting like that before. The technique of the lifters was extremely, extremely different than what I knew. The mindset, the programming was off the wall bonkers. Just the lifestyle was so different at California Strength. It was truly just a professional team of weightlifters, and that's what they did. There was no job. There was no outside anything. You lift all day. And when I say all day, I mean all day, all the time. That's what you do. And so I dove in and realized that those lifters like to smoke cigarettes. So I ended up smoking as well. And so, we were probably putting down close to 2 packs a day, pack a day to 2 packs a day. We'd smoke, we'd lift, we'd eat, we'd smoke, we nap, took a lot of naps during the day. And took a little nap, watched, something on the TV, went back out, trained, hit a squat, have a smoke, max out in the snatch, go to KFC, clean and jerk, have a smoke, front squat, go to In-N-Out Burger, come back, front squat, have a smoke, snatch, have a smoke, clean jerk. And this went on 6 days a week, every day.
Wow.
So there was no sessions.
Okay.
Right?
This was just training days, just literally all day
of just training. Now, when Coach Pendlay got there, it changed. And, there was a little more set schedule. But, yeah, man, it was definitely, Spitz brought in Uncle, Ivan Avajev, the greatest weightlifting coach ever, the head Bulgarian coach for decades. And so it was Ivan Avajev who just went to open the Alico Center down the street. He kind of just moved on, and there's still a lot of lifters there. So there was just a lot going on in that whole San Ramon area with Spitz and Cal Strength and Ivan Avajev. And Ivan Avajev lived at Dave's house for I think over a year, and had all the lifters, live with Dave and Max and Donny, and that's why those guys are so knowledgeable. And I kind of missed that first series of California Strength. I kind of got in there at like the end of that first chapter, but I got to experience so much kind of toward the tail end there, before California Strength kind of, evolved and moved on and kind of did its thing. And a lot of the Bulgarian lifters went back home, and Ivan opened up the center and went back to Bulgaria. Then, he passed away, and rest in peace, and kind of things like that. But just the lifestyle, man, of, kind of training in Europe, it feel like, Eastern Europe for so long with so many different lifters. The culture is so different in other countries with weightlifting. It really is. And it was quite the experience.
Wow. That right there is your equivalent to a PhD in weightlifting.
Yeah, no, I learned a lot, and I'm thankful. I got to train, one of my coaches was Alex Krychev. He's silver medalist at the Olympics. Martin Pashoff was one of my coaches, huge mentor of mine, Martin Pashoff. Nikolai, I was trained, with Ivan a few different times, which was amazing. Obviously Donny, Max Ada, and then, of course, Dave Spitz, a man that has, so much knowledge, was obviously my coach for many, many, many years. And so to be around these lifters and these coaches, man, it's just like, you just try to take it all in, man. That's what you do, is you just try to take it all in. You try to learn, and you got to just dive in. You got to trust what's happening. And a lot of lifters, I think, make the mistake of not diving in, not trusting the process. And, they're always looking for the grass to be greener. And anytime you're looking for the grass to be greener, man, your grass is just going to die.
Yeah, that's so true. Man, that's incredible. And a lot of those names that you're mentioning are people that, in my mind, have shaped where weightlifting is at in America today, yourself included. So that's incredible to live through that and experience that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So training this way, what were your best numbers that you got up to in snatch and clean jerk?
Oh, man. So let's see here. At night, I was 94 kilo weightlifter. That was the weight class back then. It's weird to say back then. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was a 94. Always training, though, at like 92. I was always light.
Wow.
I was not one of these 94s that trained at like 96, or 95. Like, I was always under 94. And Coach Pendlay just was so mad at me all the time. He'd take me to pizza, all you can eat pizza buffets, like daily, and just have me stuff my face. He would sit there and he'd give me a list of pizza. He'd be like, all right, you have to eat 10 slices today. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
So I'd sit there and I'd have to eat 10 slices of pizza, like almost throwing up. So, just stuffing my face. I'd go back and I'd lift, and I was still always like a kilo or two under. I couldn't gain weight. Went to Hooters. I've written blogs about this. We go to Hooters and all you can eat wings, just stuffing my face. I hated it. And this was not by choice. Like I had to eat like a certain amount of wings. Like I had to hit a certain amount of reps and sets and training. Like eating back then was so important. I mean, weightlifters don't eat, and that's one thing that CrossFit has done so bad for weightlifting, is the diets of CrossFit have carried over to weightlifting. It's hurt so many lifters with all this crap that's out. But the thing is that, like, we ate so hard, like hard, that we could train all day, and we won every meet we went to because we recovered.
Yeah.
And lifters these days, I just don't think they're recovering hard enough. We always ate as hard as we trained, and we trained as hard as we ate. It was always vice versa. And the food had to be just rough food. I mean, if I ate too healthy, bro, I'd be an 85, and I just wouldn't be recovering properly. So, Coach Pendlay had us over for dinner all the time. We made homemade pastas and pizzas and heavy carb, heavy protein diet pretty much.
Yeah.
Donny was always cooking his Cajun food, man. Oh my gosh, we'd eat so much Cajun food you wouldn't even believe it.
Gotta eat.
He's you gotta eat, man. He's from Louisiana. He's a Cajun man, and raised as a Cajun, and his Cajun food is just authentic, which was super cool. So to get to your point is, I was weighing about 92, and I snatched 166 was in training, which was at the time the unofficial American record. You can see it on YouTube there, and that was a huge lift. I was competing, always hitting usually like, kind of high 50s, kind of low 60s, in competition. At the time there, my best competition at California Strength competition snatch was 163. And I was pretty regularly hitting 160 in comp. So, and especially at that time, you couldn't touch that. And so that was kind of my big one. As far as the clean and jerk goes, I was always better at the snatch. I still am. So my clean and jerk was always kind of, upper 80s, lower 90s, clean and jerk in like 186, 192, 189, 185, 191, kind of right around that area, which was just good enough to wrap up a few medals and be competitive internationally and nationally. But everyone knew they could always kind of get me in a competition. Like I could always go into the clean and jerk with a big snatch lead. Mm-hmm. And for most lifters, it was always like, all right, boy, this guy's got a 10-kilo lead on us in the snatch. Like there's no way. And going against me is different. Okay, Jon's got a 10-kilo snatch lead. We got him, because a lot of my competitors they were better in the clean and jerk than I was. And it made it a tight race.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, they're incredible numbers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So a big part of why I wanted to talk to you is where you're at now and what happened kind of in between those Cal Strength, competing internationally days and today. So you had some health troubles in the past couple of years, correct?
Yeah. I died for 16 minutes.
It just so casually, I died for 16 minutes.
Out cold, yeah. At the Portland Zoo, looking at the elephants with my family, my wife and my son. My daughter wasn't born yet, and my wife wasn't even pregnant with Liv yet. So, yeah, I mean, I just think about my daughter. Like, if I never came back, she wouldn't be here, and that's what I think about. I don't really think about me. So I'm just blessed that God kept me here for some reason, and my daughter's here because of it, and I think that's probably the reason why. So now I'm just here on now I could just go at any time, now that my daughter's here. So, but yeah, man, just looking at the elephants, and I just dropped. That's the last thing I saw was that, and it kind of just changed everything. Wow.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a life-changing event. I mean, literally ending your life and being brought back. Yeah. What, coming out of that, what's the mindset that changes just in your everyday life?
Right. Well, it's interesting because there's a time period where you're so thankful to be alive, and you're so thankful to be with your family, and your close friends are there in the hospital with you. I was in the ICU for, about a month. And, you get out of the ICU, you go back home, and you're just so grateful for the small things and family, and you're reflecting, and you're trying to still kind of figure out what happened and why am I here? Because, I definitely went somewhere when I was dead. And I had a full conversation with which I think was a gold angel.
Wow.
Vividly, I knew I was dead. So
in the moment, you could whatever it was, you realized something was going on?
Oh, yeah. No, I was 100% having a full conversation, knowing I was dead. I was definitely somewhere. And if you're not a religious person, there's two things I always say to my friends that are not religious is, either I'm lying to you right now or I'm not.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something right now. I wouldn't want to take that gamble.
All right.
As my pastor says, why roll the dice? So
coming from a man that's been there. So.
It's either I'm lying to you or I'm telling you the truth. It's it's kind of really what it comes down to be honest. So afterwards, there's just that reflection of why am I here? What's my purpose? Thankful. And you're it's all extra credit, your whole entire life, everything you do at that point, especially, even now, but really everything that you're doing at that time is just like, oh my gosh, I'm having a meal right now. I shouldn't be eating. And I get to hug my son, and this is just extra credit. So then, you start to really care more about the small things, man, and all the things that you thought were important are not. And it's kind of like this quarantine right now where so many things that were cut off from, you're realizing are just really actually not necessities.
Mm-hmm.
And there was then a time, Jordan, where after a good amount of time went by, then you kind of start thinking about life again and about how to support your family and business. And you're like, wait a minute, we're broke, and my business is a entrepreneur and is a guy that was doing seminars and an online team and clothing line and just all these, is the business that I had and still have. It's, pivoted, and changed here and there. But Attitude Nation there wasn't anything coming in. Closed, out of order, months.
Yeah.
And as people can see in this quarantine, when you're closed, there's nothing coming in. I wasn't working for a company that was like paying me like sick leave or something. So especially when the medical bills hit, and with this heart defibrillator I have in me, and the medical bill, it was over $500,000. So insurance didn't cover crap. I'm paying these medical bills, nothing's coming in. And then it was like, I got to get back to work.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was training and lifting and grinding and coaching and seminars and just trying to do the best I can. To kind of get the ball rolling again. But so much time went by that new cats in the game, seminar business kind of just really slowed down. As you know now, seminars are not like they were at all. They're kind of dead. And the market of the seminars, the hype, the seminar ride, kind of slowed down quite a bit. And that was like the big one. So there was a lot of stressful times too with that time of supporting my family. And then when my daughter was born with a bad heart, that added a lot too. So I'm grateful that my daughter's alive and she battled through her heart disease that she still has, but she's doing great. And we've been through. I don't want to bore people. We've been through a lot. Like when you ask that question, when I had the cardiac arrest, the last few years when I had that in the end of 2016, few years after that, it was a real tough time for us.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Well, we're grateful that you're here. You're still kicking. I'm sure your family's more grateful than we are. But that's an incredible story, and the fact that you're able to come back from that and you're doing coaching and all this stuff now, you're still putting a lot of positivity out into the weightlifting world. That's incredible to see.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it was
no
good
problem.
to be doing what I love still,
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're sitting here today, because I recognize that, and I really appreciate what you're doing. So with all this collective experience and outlook that you've accumulated over all these years in weightlifting and just life experience through hardship and literally losing your life and coming back, how do you channel this into the things that you do now, like your coaching and your weightlifting team? I saw you with a big old gang of people at AO a couple months ago. So can you talk a little bit how you form that team and how you use this experience to form them into weightlifters?
Yeah. So, Jordan, it's a good question, and it's going to be probably a different answer than people think, but I've always loved weightlifting. I've always been passionate for weightlifting, of course.
Yeah.
But, you know, from like muscle driver of 2013 to when I had my cardiac arrest, you know, kind of toward the last fourth quarter of my stretch before having the cardiac arrest in my weightlifting career, there was two things that set me away from the sport as a whole. Money and internet fame really effed me up. Really effed me up. And I turned into a person that I just didn't really like. I didn't have God in my life. I became materialistic. I was pretty hardcore alcoholic. Kind of, you know, marriage was on the rocks. Traveled all the time. I was all over the world, all the time traveling. And you know, at the peak of my career, and at the peak of the height of my business at the time, because now it's much better, but at that time, the peak of my business, I was the most unhappy. And I want people to understand that. And I back then it was, you know, I was making hand over fist as far as money. It was, Jordan, between us here on the show, it was quite ridiculous, to be honest with you. And I was young, still pretty young, and I didn't know how to handle that. Jordan, I mean, like, you heard the story. I was in a Dodge Neon. You know, I was a broke kid with a dream. And all of a sudden, now I'm traveling the world, making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I mean, just insane. It was monopoly money, Jordan. I mean, it was crazy. You know, crazy. I mean,
yeah, just going from one end of spectrum to the other.
I don't know how to handle that. So it just got out of control, man. And I just, you know, then we had the thing with USAW where we weren't seeing eye to eye on a bunch of stuff, and I left and then created the AWF, and then AWF was a federation that I really loved and I still love, and it kind of died when I died. Probably would still be going on by now, to be honest, but very successful federation. We were all over the place. And
so AWF was your weightlifting federation, correct? You started that?
Yeah, and I want to backtrack on the timeline a little bit. When I had my son, when my wife said she was pregnant, I, you know, stopped drinking and, you know, got my life back together. And then around 2014 or 2015, we created the AWF and ran that for 2 years and was doing a lot better. Coaching and running the AWF, and did a few bodybuilding shows and got into that world and all that kind of stuff. But now, you know, now I'm back. AWF's gone. Now I'm just kind of back to where I started. And I think that is for people listening, Jordan, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And if you can't, maybe you should take this to heart, because getting back to basics is so important. And getting back to that foundation and that platform that started everything is so important at times, because you can get so out there and you can get so lost in your own journey.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Where you're just like, wait a minute, how did I end up here? You know, and you know, why am I doing bodybuilding? And as much as I love the AWF, like, you know, why am I not competing in USAW? And, you know, at the time of 2013 and 14, why am I, you know, buying these things and never with my wife? And why am I at this bar at 2 a.m.? And why, you know, like, where am I? What happened here? And then the journey could just take you different places that kind of have you scratching your head. So what I've done lately, the last few years, is I've just got back to basics, Jordan. I coach weightlifting. I do weightlifting. I love weightlifting. And I keep it like that, man. I keep it simple. You know, I don't want to go down those paths. I don't want to be the old me. And learn from your mistakes and just grow as a human. And I think that as of right now, it's just, you know, simplicity is king. And that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's almost like you said earlier, the grass always seems greener, and sometimes you have to see that the grass isn't greener to come
Right.
back to that green grass.
Right.
So
Yeah, you know, and I'll be blunt with you too, and I'm not scared to say it, but you know, I found God and I got saved, and that was, you know, the interesting thing with that was in 2016 is when I got saved. That was actually 2 weeks before I died.
wow.
When I accepted, you know, the Lord into my life as my Savior, and you know, that Jesus died for our sins and rose on the third day, and you know, accepted Christ 100% into my life, and I laid my sword down, you know, because, you know, you live your life fighting so much, and you're fighting the dragon, and you're fighting with your sword, and you think you can do it yourself, and you're prideful, and, you know, you think you're strong, and it's all about you, and I could do it, and, you know, self-motivation, and, you know, self-esteem, and all these things that we think are going to help that don't. And I finally just said, man, after so many failures and so many mistakes and so many you know, defeats, like, I can't do this myself. And I just laid the sword down and accepted God, and he's been in my life ever since. And that doesn't make me perfect. That doesn't make me a good human. You know, but it, you know, it's helped out a ton. And I got baptized after, you know, I got out of the hospital, and so yeah, that's a big change in my life is my relationship with God.
Wow. So is that kind of what guides you now in your everyday practices?
100%. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's all about him. It's not about me. You know, we're here for him. He's not here for us. And we as humans, we get that twisted. You know, God, why not? Why are you not doing this for me? And me. And, you know, it's not about us, you know?
Yeah.
It's not. And, you know, that, you know, I've been humbled over the years. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about us. And I'm sure anyone can take something from that statement, whether they're, you know, whatever their religion is, but it's bigger than all of us. So that's
Right.
cool to hear. All right. I don't want to take too much of your time, but the people that want to find you, can you tell them where you're at, about your coaching, how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Attitude Nation. And, you know, I do a lot of posting there, training, all that kind of stuff. Go to our website, today.Tune. We do some programming and I do some online coaching. We got a great team, great community there. And also do a podcast called Red Circle Radio. We go live, Spreaker.com, Spreaker, kind of a funky name, Spreaker with an R. But if you go to today.Tune, we actually have all the podcasts from 2012 to now recorded on there. So all the way back, all the different guests and interviews we've done, it's all there on today.Tune. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate you for hanging out with us this morning. You have an incredible story. So thanks for telling us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jordan. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.